Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Please like the video as you guys come in. Please like the videos you guys come in. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21, where we talk hot topics, trending topics, what's going on around the world. I appreciate everyone for being here. And don't forget to like the video as you guys come in. Let me go ahead, do my disclaimer, and get into everything I need to get into. So thanks for being here, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope everyone enjoyed their weekend. So we're just going to do a few topics right now, and that'll probably be it. But come on in, like the video as you guys come in. All comments are allegedly. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Thanks for being here, everyone. Just give me a second. I'm almost done doing my disclaimer. Go ahead and do the please like the video by thumb up the video, and make sure you guys turn on your notifications as well. um and don't forget, the like button is free to hit, so definitely hit the like button. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get straight into these clips. So thank you for being patient. We're going to go ahead and get into the clips. For me, I'm a little different. I have to do my little setup here, pin everything. I am a one woman show until my mod returns. So yeah, let's go ahead and get in straight into the news and what's going on.
Hey everyone, good to see you again today. So let me start with something that honestly surprised a lot of people when it came out, and it might surprise you too. President Trump just rolled back tariffs on a ton of everyday goods. Things like coffee, bananas, tomatoes, beef, even spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. Because prices were climbing so fast that it was starting to hurt almost every household in the country. And now that this new executive order is out, the hope is that it finally gives people a little breathing room at the grocery store. And there's a lot more behind this story than most people realize. So it's worth sticking around to understand what's changing and why it matters so much. Before we get into everything, let me ask you something simple for the comments. What grocery item feels ridiculous to buy right now? The one where you look at the price and just shake your head. Everyone has that one thing. So let's talk about what changed, because this wasn't
Yeah, what's the one grocery item that's so high that it's like, what do I do? Do you still purchase it, or are you waiting?
small tweak. This was a major course correction. And honestly, we've been watching grocery bills climb month after month. This is one of those moments where the government is finally reacting to what people are feeling every single day. Now,
are you researching dental
Like the video,
implants?
like the
There's a lot of
video.
dental
Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Yes, what is that one grocery item that you've noticed has gone up $1, $2, and even $3? Let me know in the comments.
finally reacting to what people are feeling every single day. Now, the big headline is that President Trump just exempted a whole list of foods from the higher tariff levels he's been using for the past year. And this isn't just coffee and bananas anymore. It now covers cocoa, beef, tomatoes, avocados, oranges, pineapples, coconut products, teas, and a whole list of spices. Basically, a lot of the foods that families buy every single week or every single day were getting hammered by tariffs, and it pushed prices way beyond what most budgets could comfortably handle. And the interesting part is that the White House made this change after a lot of pushback, not from political opponents, but from regular voters. Exit polls earlier this month showed that people were overwhelmingly frustrated with affordability, especially grocery costs. And when you start losing voters in states you normally win, you start paying attention. So, yeah, this is absolutely tied to the election and to the pressure coming from people who are struggling at the checkout lane. So then, let's look at what exactly happened here. The executive order Trump signed doesn't get rid of all tariffs, but it does roll back the most painful ones, what they call reciprocal tariffs, which went anywhere from 10% all the way up to 50%. These are being removed for a long list of foods. And it's retroactive, meaning the lower tariff rate goes into effect starting from the day before the order was signed. That's how fast they want this to start flowing through the supply chain. And you might be thinking, okay, sure, tariffs went down, but were they really causing the prices to rise that much? And the answer is yes, with coffee and beef especially. The connection is almost direct. Let's talk about beef, because this one shocked a lot of people. Over the past year, the U.S. was charging major beef suppliers, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Uruguay, tariffs so high that Brazil's effective rate topped 75%. 75%. That slowed down imports massively at the exact same time the U.S. cattle herd dropped to a 75-year low because of drought and high feed costs. So you had low supply, high tariffs, and higher equipment and repair costs from tariffs on steel and fertilizer. And everything stacked up into a perfect storm. That's why uncooked beef products at the grocery store jumped anywhere from 12 to 18% in a single year. And what's wild is that ranchers weren't rebuilding their herds because the policy was so unpredictable. One month it's tariffs, the next month it's a beef quota expansion in Argentina. It made long-term planning almost impossible. So the administration is now rolling some of that back to stop the bleeding. Now let's talk coffee, because this one probably hits closer to home for most people. You know how everyone kept saying coffee felt more expensive this year? Well, it wasn't just inflation. The U.S. slapped a 50% tariff on Brazilian coffee, and Brazil supplies about a third of coffee imports. That's huge. Vietnam, Colombia, and others were hit too. And it pushed coffee prices to a record $8.41 per pound in July, which is a 33% increase from the year before. That's not a small bump, that's a full-on spike. Roasters started paying 18 to 25% more for their wholesale beans. Cafes added surcharges, and no one could have, because the U.S. literally doesn't produce enough coffee. Some states grow tiny amounts, but not enough to matter. So roasters and cafes had no choice but to pay whatever the tariff demanded. And here's the part that really pushed voters over the edge. The Tax Foundation estimated back in August that 74% of U.S. food imports were facing tariffs. That's almost 3/4 of the imported food you find in your grocery store. So when people walked in and saw higher prices on tomatoes, citrus, spices, coffee, bananas, beef, all at the same time, it was too much. Voters connected the dots, and the administration heard that message loud and clear. Now, what's more, tomatoes became their own crisis. Tomato prices jumped almost instantly when Mexico was hit with a 17% tariff after a trade agreement expired. And Mexico is one of our biggest suppliers. So that made everything from pasta sauces to salsa to fresh tomatoes more expensive almost overnight. So then, when you step back and look at everything together, this new tariff rollback isn't just a policy update. It's a complete shift in direction. For years, Trump said tariffs don't raise prices. But this move is an acknowledgement that yes, they do, and in some cases, they do so dramatically. Now, I want to pause for a second because this is where it gets personal for a lot of people. When you walk into the store every week, you don't need a government report to tell you prices are up. You don't need a chart. You feel it when you put coffee in your cart, or pick up a tray of beef, or grab tomatoes for dinner. So when these tariff cuts hit the news, a lot of people felt, finally, something that makes sense. But here's the trick. Even if tariffs drop instantly, prices don't. There's a whole supply chain that needs time to adjust. Coffee beans, already shipped at the old rate, won't suddenly get cheaper. Beef that was imported under a 75% duty doesn't magically restock at a lower cost. So the real question is when you'll notice changes. And that part, it's going to be gradual. Maybe in the next few weeks for fast-moving goods like bananas. Coffee and beef might take longer. Some stores will pass the savings quickly. Some might hold on to the margins for a bit. But the shift is starting now. The other thing to consider is what the administration is doing behind the scenes. They also just created a new trade framework with Switzerland that lowers tariffs from 39% down to 15%. This shows that the affordability push isn't just a one-off emergency move. It started to look like a broader strategy, something bigger than just a political reaction. Now, I want to bring this back to you. What does this mean for your weekly grocery bill? Well, if you buy coffee, beef, fruit, tomatoes, spices, honestly, almost anything that isn't grown locally, you're part of the group that might start seeing relief. Maybe it's 50 cents off bananas. Maybe it's $1 off beef. Maybe it's cheaper coffee beans at your favorite store. These don't sound huge individually, but when you're on a fixed income or just trying to stretch a budget, these little breaks matter. And speaking of which, I just want to say you're not imagining the struggle. You're not overreacting. Food inflation has been crushing people, especially older adults, people on SNAP, retirees, and families living paycheck to paycheck. So seeing a move that directly targets the prices you pay every week is meaningful. Even if it's late, even if it's imperfect, it's still something. So then, keep an eye on your usual items over the next few weeks. See if anything shifts. And if a store starts advertising lower prices on coffee or beef, you'll know it's the tariff relief starting to hit. And let me know in the comments, what grocery item hit your wallet the hardest this year? I always enjoy reading your answers, and honestly, it reminds everyone they're not alone in this. Thanks for being here, and take care of yourself today.
Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here.
Tropical fruit, and other commodities that consumers say cost too much. New today, the Trump administration staying on message after the president backtracked and announced he will withdraw tariffs on beef, coffee, tropical fruit, and other commodities that consumers say cost too much.
How soon do we expect the prices on those goods now to go down?
Right. Well, the prices for those goods weren't necessarily going up just because of tariffs, and so the prices will go down. Well, the prices will go down, of course, but
because the tariffs have been taken off.
right. Well, because the supply of the goods into the U.S. is going to increase.
Joining me now, Courtney Brown, senior economics reporter for Axios. Welcome back to the show, Courtney. So the Trump administration will not say tariffs raise prices for Americans, but doesn't their about face this past week just admit that? I mean, what do you make of the administration's messaging?
This is an implicit admission that their tariff strategy has put upward pressure on prices for consumers. And what we're seeing this week is really exactly what the Biden administration struggled with respect to messaging. Inflation is on a downward path, at least as of September when we have the latest government inflation data. It was on a downward path, but that's not what consumers care about. Consumers don't care how quickly prices are going up. They care that prices are going up altogether. They care about the price level. And so over the past week, we've seen the Trump administration come to terms with this hardship that their predecessors faced, which is how do you convince consumers that prices are the rate of change with prices is slowing, even as they're coming off of this years long spike in inflation. And so we see the biggest backtracking yet of their tariff strategy. But you heard top White House economist Kevin Hassett say essentially that they can't guarantee that prices are going to come down from consumers, but they're trying to get in front of it with this messaging that we're pulling the tariffs off. So things like coffee, beef, fruit, things that consumers have been struggling to pay for, perhaps these things get a little bit more palatable, but we'll have to see what happens.
Well, those three things you ticked off right there. I mean, let's talk about that because coffee prices are up by 41%, beef's up by 11.5%, bananas by over 8%. That's just since last September. So is this plan to cut tariffs, is it just a ploy by the administration to make it look like it's addressing an affordability problem when the costs are really up because of the tariffs that they put in place?
There are certain things, certain products, certain agricultural goods that we just do not produce here. So in the case of things like coffee that we largely import from overseas, when you're adding additional import taxes on these goods, of course we're going to see food manufacturers pass those costs along to the consumer. So when those tariffs come back, there is the chance that these manufacturers, these grocery stores are going to pass along the cost savings from the tariffs. But here's the problem. Of other issues causing prices to go up, and you're going to see the administration grapple with this. There's climate change effects. There's crop issues that sometimes push the cost of goods up. So removing the tariffs is one thing that they can do, but I think you're going to see them still struggle with the affordability messaging here on out because there's only so much you can do to bring prices down.
I want to pivot to the new financial disclosures, which show Donald Trump bought more than $82 million in corporate and municipal bonds since August. Do these investments raise any ethical concerns, Courtney?
We know that the White House has said that President Trump does not control his investments. It's in the hands of a third party. But I think you can't ignore the fact that this presidency is more intermingled, if you will, with the private sector than we've seen in a very long time. And I think when you see that the president's investments are, being...
Good morning, good morning. Continue to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Good morning, good morning. There's about 145 in the building. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Please hit the like button. Thanks for being here.
Put towards the debt of certain corporations that might be benefiting from his policies. Well, it raises questions like, is this a conflict of interest? So I think those are the types of questions that the president is going to continue to face.
But can I ask you, why would he move money into bonds?
It's the boring side of investing. It doesn't get the sexy attention that the stock market gets, but it's the investment in the debt of these companies that's thought to be a little less volatile, a lot more safe than the stock prices. And if anything happens to these companies, the debtors are the ones that are paid out first with respect to bankruptcy.
Okay, but well, I guess all right. You know what? I'll get out you personally. I have a couple more questions. Thank you very much, Courtney Brown.
Like the video. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. We're just doing some hot topics, trending topics. Like the video as you guys come in.
That can either help you or quietly take money out of your check if you're not prepared. Hey everyone, this is important, so listen closely. December brings a whole set of Social Security changes that can either help you or quietly take money out of your check if you're not prepared. And the tricky part is that these rules overlap. You might get a raise from the new COLA, but higher Medicare costs can shrink your payment. You might qualify for a new tax break, but other rules can still leave you owing more than you expected. If you don't understand how these updates work together, you could end up with less money in your pocket without even realizing why. And before we go any further, let me ask you something simple, just a friendly check-in. Do you feel like your Social Security benefits stretch far enough each month? Or do you wish things felt a bit easier? Let me know in the comments, because I think a lot of people feel the same way, and sometimes hearing others talk about it helps you feel less alone. Okay, so let's talk through everything step by step, because December is an important month. It sets the tone for your 2026 money, your insurance costs, and even how much tax you might owe in April. And also, I want to explain a few small details that people often overlook, the kind of things that cause surprises later, and nobody likes surprises when it comes to their money. Now, one of the things people are talking about the most is the new 2.8% cost of living adjustment for 2026. This was announced in late October, and it bumps the average retirement benefit from around $2,015 to about $2,071 a month. That's roughly $56 more. And well, $56 is not life-changing, but it's something. It helps a bit with groceries or maybe a phone bill. For SSI recipients, your new amount actually arrives on December 31st, which feels early, but that's how the system works when January starts on certain days of the week. But here's the thing a lot of people tell me in the comments, and maybe you feel this too. Even with a raise, it doesn't always feel like your purchasing power really increases. And there's a reason for that. The way Social Security calculates COLA is based on something called the CPIW, which measures the cost of living for workers, not retirees. Workers spend differently than seniors. Retirees often spend more on healthcare and housing. Those costs grow faster than regular inflation. So yeah, the system doesn't always reflect your reality. Recent surveys show that more than 3 out of 4 older adults said a 3% raise still wouldn't keep up with rising prices. And honestly, you probably feel that when you're at the grocery store or when you open your utility bill. So the COLA helps, but it doesn't fix everything. And next, here's where things get tricky. Medicare Part B premiums are expected to rise to about $206.50 a month in 2026. That's up from $185, so about a $21 increase. For a lot of you, that money is taken directly out of your Social Security check. So you might get a raise in benefits, but Medicare takes a chunk right back out. It's almost like someone hands you $56 and then walks behind you and takes 21. And this is why many people say they feel like they're barely keeping up. That tug of war isn't you imagining things. It's a real structural issue. And because healthcare costs rise faster than benefits, people often feel stuck. Another thing to consider is the tax deduction for seniors that starts with 2026 taxes. This is part of President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. People aged 65 and older get an extra $6,000 deduction. Married couples can claim up to $12,000. And also, you don't need to itemize your taxes to use this. You can take it even if you use the standard deduction. This is actually one of the biggest tax breaks seniors have seen in years.
The delicious taste of crisp fall.
Like the video, like the video. Please hit the like button as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Like the video as you guys come in. Let's continue fair use ration clip.
But there's an economist estimate that it will increase the number of seniors who owe zero federal taxes on their benefits from 64% to 88%. So yeah, that means more people will keep more of their Social Security. But there's something else you should know. That deduction also reduces federal tax revenue. And because part of Social Security is funded by those taxes, the trust fund loses money faster. The SSA estimates that this deduction alone could push the trust fund toward depletion about 6 months sooner. It doesn't hurt anyone this year, but it adds pressure to the long term. Now, people ask me a lot if taxes on Social Security are going away completely.
Good morning, good morning.
You Keep It Act that would end all federal taxes on Social Security benefits, starting with returns filed in 2027. But it only works if lawmakers raise the payroll tax cap. Right now, only the first $184,500 of wages are taxed for Social Security. Anything above that isn't. So raising that cap is how they would cover the lost revenue from eliminating benefit taxes. It's a popular idea among retirees, but it's controversial in Congress. Some say the system needs the revenue to stay stable. Others say seniors deserve a break today, and the wealthy can cover the difference. So then, this is a conversation that's still evolving, and December 2025 is right in the middle of it. Besides federal rules, state taxes also matter. 9 states still tax Social Security, including Minnesota, Colorado, and New Mexico. But even that is slowly changing. West Virginia is removing its tax completely by 2026. Utah has credits that help lower income seniors offset the tax. So where you live really does affect how much you keep. Now let's talk about the earnings test, because every December people message me worried about working too much and losing benefits. So here's the update. In 2026, if you're getting benefits before full retirement age, the earnings limit goes up to $24,480. You can earn up to that amount without having anything withheld. If you earn more, Social Security takes $1 for every $2 above the limit. In the year you reach full retirement age, the limit jumps to $65,160, and only $1 is withheld for every $3 above that. And also, once you hit full retirement age, the earnings limit disappears completely. You can work as much as you want, and Social Security recalculates your benefit later to give you credit for anything withheld. So early retirees shouldn't panic. It's not lost permanently. It's delayed, which is confusing, but it's still your money. Now, while we're talking about working, SSDI beneficiaries get a small earnings boost too. The new limit becomes $1,690 a month, or $2,830 if you're blind. These changes matter if you're picking up part-time work or trying to stretch your income. Another thing that people should think about in December is adjusting their budget. And I know people hate the word budget, but honestly, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's more like giving yourself a map. You see where you're going and you feel less stressed. Prices are still high for utilities, groceries, and auto insurance. Even though inflation cooled down, some sectors never went back to their old prices. So, writing down your expenses once at the end of the year can make a huge difference. Also, if you haven't checked your Medicare plan during open enrollment, you still have until December 7th. Sometimes you can switch to a plan that saves you $20 to $50 a month without losing coverage. People skip this because it feels overwhelming, but honestly, the savings are real. Just pausing for a moment to share something important with you. We've partnered with Chapter, a service we feel
Like the
comes
video.
once a year. It's free, and their care advocate team is
Like
there
the
to support
video.
you. You register for your My Social Security account. If you do it by November 19th, you'll get your exact 2026 benefit amount early. Otherwise, it gets mailed in December, and sometimes mail gets lost or arrives late. So having online access just makes life easier. Another thing to keep in mind is taxes. If you think you might owe taxes on your benefits next year, you can request the SSA to withhold a small percentage every month. That way, you avoid a surprise bill in April. It's totally optional, but for some people, it's one less thing to worry about. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture, because honestly, this part is really important. Social Security is a lifeline, and I don't mean that in a dramatic way. I mean statistically. For many people over 65, Social Security is at least half of their income. For millions, it's almost all of their income, and women rely on it more than men on average. So when these rules change, even the small ones, people feel it. And speaking of the future, experts say the trust fund could hit depletion by around 2032 if nothing changes. Now, that doesn't mean Social Security disappears. It means benefits could be reduced by about 20% if Congress doesn't act. Lawmakers are debating several fixes like raising the full retirement age, lifting the wage cap, or adjusting benefits, but nothing is final yet, even though this can all feel overwhelming. The good news is that December is the perfect time to get organized. If you understand your 2026 benefit, your Medicare costs, your taxes, and your earnings limits, you're already ahead of most people. And honestly, just being aware helps you make better choices. So yeah, thank you for spending this time with me. I hope this helped you.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Yes, let's get the likes up, everyone. Please get the likes up for the video. Don't forget to hit subscribe. There's about 143 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Are you researching?
Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Let's continue. Hold on.
You can see that they're actually all pretty nice. They're spectacular. The Oval Office itself is beautiful. He's completely changed the entire energy in the White House, not just because of what's happening, which is fast-paced and impactful, but he's actually taking on major projects that will reshape how we think about these structures. And architecture does reflect the values and culture of a society. So don't ignore.
This is Dr. Oz talking about the White House and what's going on.
That changed Paris to have Notre Dame built. And when Washington is prettier and safer in 4 years, everyone can high-five and thank the president. And I'm sure we'll have some kind of a healthcare event in that ballroom before President Trump's term is over. That is what I want to ask you about. The president is talking about fixing the healthcare system by basically stopping the government gravy train for insurance companies. Listen to this.
Obamacare, which is the Unaffordable Care Act, it is totally unaffordable. We want, you see the kind of money the insurance companies are making, hundreds of billions of dollars. We're going to give the money to the people to buy their own health care. And the kind of money that we give to the insurance companies is more than going to take care of it. People are going to be able to buy their own health insurance.
So, Dr. Oz, how would that work? Well, we've got a couple issues. unpack what the president said. The Unaffordable Care Act is a clever way of reflecting on the reality that the system was created 15 years ago with a very different expectation and a very different promise to the American people. Restated slightly, half the people were supposed to be in an exchange where they would use their money to drive quality and buy at the right price. Half was supposed to be government subsidized for people who couldn't afford it. What's happened? By putting so much federal money into the system, you bid up all the prices. Yes, you pay the insurance companies doing just fine, but the entire system now gets fat. And then folks who are trying to enter and buy insurance in the exchanges can't afford it anymore. What happened during COVID was a lot worse because during COVID, and the Democrats know this because they made a short-term policy change that's going to expire at the end of this year on purpose. They knew it was a bad idea because it allowed people who had no idea that they have insurance to be given insurance. Let me give you the numbers. Think about this. Normally, health insurance, by the way, you normally use it. It's not like insurance for a house burning down. You hope you never use that. But generally speaking, 1 in 5 times you don't use your health insurance. The rest of the time, your prescriptions, paying doctor's bills, whatever. That number doubled once the Democrats added these COVID subsidies because they began to tell everybody you could have it for free. In fact, you could have Medicaid and be on the exchange. You could actually just get it by mistake. You can get it and not know about it. We think, Peter, this is critical. 4.5 million Americans are getting fully paid for, government subsidized insurance programs from the ACA, and they're not appropriately on the system. That's money we are throwing away and wasting.
The biggest question last time that there was an Obamacare vote in D.C., or to make it the law 15 years ago, was, can people keep their doctors? If this is the plan, President Trump starts sending money directly to consumers. Can they keep their doctors?
People will decide which doctors they want to keep. They'll pay for the programs they think are most valuable to them. We can save enough money in the ACA as it's currently structured if we adjust where the money's invested and drive prices down, which I'll come back to in a second, to actually, I think, give people some money back. And we want that. But also, Peter, you want to bring people off the sidelines. There are lots of folks out there running small businesses. They don't have enough money to buy really expensive commercial insurance, but they can afford to buy an ACA program. Empower them. Put some of the money in their hands. Let them buy the policy that suits their needs. But at the same time, and this is vital, you spend a lot of time together at these White House briefings over the last month and a half. We've done now 4 massive announcements about most favored nation drug pricing. If we force the pharmaceutical industry to do what's right, which they want to do, by the way, because they're doing this voluntarily, and allow Americans to pay the same prices that they charge Europeans, we dramatically drop healthcare expenses. We pay 3 times more right now than Europeans pay. And so, for example, take these GLP-1 weight loss drugs. And the president's proud of this. We're going to be able to get Americans to lose about 125 million pounds over the next year by dropping the price of these weight loss drugs that are very effective. They're not a cure for obesity, but they help you get back to your fighting weight. The value to that of the U.S. economy, the health economy, is massive because you'll actually pay for these drugs with just the savings from reducing heart attacks and kidney failure and dementia and all the things like hypertension and diabetes that cause those problems.
And you mentioned the GLP-1s. There's a new study out of UC San Diego that colon cancer patients who are taking these weight loss drugs that you guys are making really cheap are less than half as likely to die of something like colon cancer than people who are not taking them. Is this the kind of drug where the government might at some point just make it available to everybody, like the last admin did for the COVID shots?
We're making these medications affordable, which is the most important thing. We don't want to force you to take them. And only people who really do have concerns, for example, obesity leads to cancer. So being obese is a problem. Obesity by itself, Peter, drives probably a quarter of all healthcare expenses. So if you really want to drop the cost of healthcare in America, get healthier. By the way, your green room, this is non-Maha, all these snacks. This is all they have out there.
Oh, no.
This and water. But getting people to eat better, exercise, which is Secretary Kennedy's primary mission. The reason he took the job was to get Maha into the agenda for the American people works. But if you can't lose weight by diet and exercise, then I do think taking these GLP-1 drugs is beneficial. They're rapidly progressing. We've got pills coming out now in March that these companies are offering. And if we can offer, for example, in Medicare for a $50 copay at a total price to the taxpayer that's so much lower than it is now, probably 20% of this price, we're not throwing money at this problem. We're fixing the issue. You drop prices in that way, yeah, you can afford insurance. If you don't address the underlying cost of healthcare, as the president points out, it's going to become the Unaffordable Care Act. That doesn't help anybody.
And the last thing I want to ask you about, there's a psychotherapist in New York. His name is Jonathan Alpert. He's now saying that Trump derangement syndrome, 3/4 of his patients in New York have symptoms, and he is calling it the defining pathology of our time. What's the prescription? Just take 2 aspirin and call me in 2028?
Well, psychotherapy, prayer, asking your family to make you sane again. Maybe we should consider an ICD-10 billing code for Medicare for people with Trump derangement syndrome. It is such a pathological process. You can't have a rational discussion. Listen, you and I, we've had plenty of people come into our lives we disagree with. I'm fine with that. But at least rational and thoughtful conversation about what's really going down and start off with the same facts. That's why this debate about the ACA, to me, is so important for the country, because if we can get this done right, it's a good example of Republicans truly leading with better ideas, like we did with the One Big Beautiful Bill, which, by the way, had fixes for Obamacare in there. They got stripped out by the Democrats.
Dr. Oz, thank you so much for being here, and we will make sure that by the time that you get back to the green room, can somebody get rid of the non-Maha snacks, please, before Dr. Oz is back out there?
Really? Is that the best we can do?
So funny. He shaded their snack room. I'm wondering if there was bananas and apples in there as well. Dr. Oz shaded their snack room, saying their snacks are unacceptable.
Well, it's a new show. Come back next month. Maybe we'll have some...
Like the videos, you guys come in. Like the videos, you guys come in. Let's continue.
The support system.
So President Trump is trying something new to unlock the stalled housing market, posting an image on Truth Social showing great American presidents, Franklin Roosevelt next to the 30-year mortgage and himself next to a 50-year mortgage. All right, so Caroline, I think a lot of this is aimed at younger people who cannot get in a home. They feel like mortgage rates are too high, housing prices are too high, therefore they can't afford the monthly payment. They need help. 50-year mortgage. Technically, I think it would bring down your monthly payment, but is it appealing to that younger voter, that younger person who wants to get into a home?
Well, first thing I'll say is that a 50-year mortgage will dispense of the idea that eventually you will own your home. And you, for over a decade, you're going to be paying mostly interest on that home. So that's kind of an alarming statistic as well. But the instincts here from...
But are young voters doing the math like that, or are they just saying, I can finally afford to get into a home?
Well, so here's what I'll say about Gen Z. For Trump to do this, his instincts are smart, given Mamdani's win.
So if it's a 30-year mortgage, the principal would be like $2,000. If it's a 40-year mortgage, it's almost like um less than $2,000. If it's a 50-year mortgage, it's less than $2,000. So 30-year $2,000, 40-year less than $2,000, 50-year less than $2,000.
Among Gen Z voters in New York City, there is real generational pain among Gen Z. We feel like we've been priced out of the real estate market. You see all these memes on social media that are something to the effect of the baby boomers are celebrating the sale of the $3.2 million property, which they bought in 1969 for 3 raspberries or a bushel of corn or a couple nickels. That's the sense of intergenerational theft that Gen Z feels. But the problem is that this is going to perpetuate this vicious cycle of government intervention, as we were saying before, and it's just continuing to dump trillions of dollars on the subsidized housing market, which is only going to increase demand. And it does nothing to address supply. So I think what we should be asking for Gen Z's sake is, how are we fixing the supply crisis, which is probably regulations for home builders.
The price just simply has to come down. And that is not going to happen just through additional new supply of new construction. It will be people being forced to sell, and it will be people cutting the price on their homes. And I don't want to wish a crisis on the housing market in this country, but ultimately prices have to ease and have to fall, because even, I said this, even adjusting for inflation, your price to rent and your price to incomes, the valuations today in housing are higher than at the peak of the 2007 bubble. And people do think about a 50-year mortgage, I'm not going to build up any equity, that I'm just making, it just makes the monthly nut a little more affordable, but that you're going to wind up being underwater, that you cannot make an overpriced home more a great investment by creating easier loan terms. And I just thought about what happened with car loans. So car loan before 2015 was typical new car loan, 5 years. Then 2017, 2019, we need to get you in that car, little lady. We're going to give you a 6-year term to bring that monthly payment down. Then 2020, 2022, when money was just like water and everybody was buying cars, new cars, used cars, 7-year loan. Well, and then they peaked, and then they've come back down to earth a little bit. But the very fact that this is an idea is probably peak housing bubble.
Okay, so my next question to you, Jackie, was: would it be terrible if this was an option on the table? Even if financially we don't love it for many reasons, would it be bad if it's out there just for somebody? Maybe there's somebody who says, look, I'll get into a 50-year mortgage, my career will take off, I'm going to refinance the thing, this is just a way to help me get in, even if it's not a 50-year mortgage that I'm going to have forever.
I agree with what everybody has said about the financial aspect of it. I don't love it, but if it is out there and it's offered as a product, people will definitely use it and take advantage of it, unless the prices drop sooner than that, which on a time basis, I'm not really sure what would happen. But as somebody who has a 30-year mortgage, I could tell you every year keeps passing, and I keep trying to, pay it down, and I'm like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And then I look at the amortization schedule, and I'm like, nope, we've got 26 more years to go. It's a really long time. It doesn't make you feel connected to your home. I always talk about home buying from an emotional aspect, which is, safety, comfort, knowing that nobody's going to be able to push you out of your place, emotional security, feeling a sense of accomplishment that it's yours. As you lengthen out that period of time that you're in debt, the less you really feel like that asset is actually yours, emotionally speaking.
The good side, if there is any, it's not required, but Dagan, it helps push the idea of issuing a 50-year treasury. Now, you don't need a 50-year treasury to come up with a 50-year mortgage. You can index it off of a 30-year or go to another country with a 50-year bond. But if it
brings us closer to locking in our long-term debt at a lower rate, i.e. a 50-year treasury. I'm not totally opposed to it. My worry, Brian, among everything, is that this is essentially an interest-only loan because people are never in their home, rarely for 30 years, let alone 50. The math on an average home of about $400,000 at a 6.2% rate, it takes 20 years to pay off the first $50,000. On a 30-year mortgage, it's only 8 years. So it really is all the interest.
So, President Trump is throwing out a lot of ideas right now. He was like on economy idea generation weekend,
which is great.
So I think what he's saying is I've got to get focused on.
Yeah, many people feel the 50-year is such a bad idea. Even 40 years is such a bad idea because people don't normally, I don't know. Many people feel it's a bad idea.
On the economy, I've got to help people out. He's reaching for ideas that are there, that are graspable in the short term. But I think the sense is that it's a bigger, longer term issue, Caroline, that has to be dealt with. Okay, and I think part of what is the big beautiful law was part of a longer term push, right? It was lower taxes, less regulation, long term prosperity. Politics doesn't tolerate long term plans, right? It demands short term. Are you concerned that he's going so short term right now because he needs it politically, or is that what a good leader does to try to generate ideas?
Well, I would actually argue even in the short term, this is not prudent given that the youth turnout is really important, and I don't think Gen Z is going to buy this argument that if you just give baby boomers...
There's about 144 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. There's about 144 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Also turn on the notifications. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It, Media 21.
Older generation, more of a chance to have homes that appreciate, and we don't. We can see right through that. That's very transparent.
Is Gen Z, are they demanding a housing correction? Does Gen Z just want to see the housing market tank?
Yes. Is that so many members of Gen Z are susceptible to the socialist ideas that are prescribed by Mamdani, which basically just say more government intervention, freeze the rent, which of course would exacerbate the housing crisis. But what we have to somehow figure out is how to restore the market equilibrium, which is the supply. And I hear what Dagan's saying about the supply, but I mean, it has to be fixed.
Serious question though for Gen Z. Gen Z gets a lot of help from their parents. It doesn't really have to do with them being able to make ends meet. I understand that is a difficulty, but a lot of help from their parents who are presumably boomers, who presumably own these homes. At some point, their parents will perish and leave them these assets. Sometimes the complaining out of Gen Z is a little much for me.
I think that's half true. If they do, in fact, leave them those assets, that's helpful. I mean, something that I think about because I don't think I'll be able to own a home. Genuinely don't believe it's going to be attainable in my lifetime. But at the other end of it is, okay, but if the average home ownership age has now been pushed into the 40s, into the 50s, that's really jarring and kind of disorienting for Gen Z as well, because this is supposed to be the peak of the American dream, is the picket fence with the porch and the golden retriever in the yard. And it's like, no, you're going to be a renter society forever because of the disharmony in the market.
There's a cultural effect of that when a generation starts thinking like that. And you don't have to believe in the picket fence or whatever, but home ownership comes with realities. Like you start doing a budget, or you realize the error of not doing a budget when you own a home, because you've got taxes and you've got payments and you've got maintenance. When you lose the responsibilities of ownership, it changes you politically. And I think that is where we are with Gen Z right now. We would
private property. Private property is the cornerstone of our republic.
And hopefully people can feel that they can own a home. Hopefully they can. Check with credit unions. Sometimes credit unions have different rates outside of banks. This is not financial advice, but sometimes credit unions do have really great offers and rates. So definitely check with your credit union. I think that's going to be it for today. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. There's about 121 in the building. If all 128 hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification, that'll be an amazing day for me. Let's get the likes up for the replay game. Please like the video. Please hit the like button. Thumbs up the video. It is free to hit the thumbs up button. So thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great day. Normally, I go live for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Not feeling it today. I have some stuff I have to take care of. So I hope you guys appreciated what I did do today. Have a great day. Be blessed. Goodbye.